Okay, well, good afternoon. We will call this meeting to order. We have a quorum. We have Randy and Travis online with us today. First of all, I want to say thank you, and I want to welcome our new members. So Bill Whitley, Hamp, and Travis are our new members. We're happy to have you on the board this year. Courtney, do you want to start us off by doing the Secretary's report?
Sure. So, y'all had about 50 emails from me in the last 2 days. So I have sent this morning the minutes. And I do know that I don't have anybody in place for making the motion or seconding the treasurer's report from the last meeting.
So can we accept the minutes as presented, knowing that you'll fill in those two pieces of information later?
Yes.
Okay, Buck's got a motion. We need a second.
Second.
And Sandra has a second. Thank you.
All
those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. What do you want to do? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
I have already received permission from the board for the approval of Hall Edwards and Chris Dillon. So I'm just letting you know, I'm putting them in the official agenda and they'll be in the minutes. I have another new one we have not approved yet. It's a corporate sponsor that Robert brought us. Resource Management Associates is the corporate sponsor. The designated representative is Susanna Robinson, and that's S-U-S-A-N-N-A, Robinson. She is the owner of the company, and it's a financial planning, like Raymond James. She's part of Raymond James, but they're different divisions under that. Her husband is Mark. She has not been affiliated with Kiwanis before, and yet, like I said, Robert is her sponsor, and Henry Barnett is her co-sponsor. And we have her $305 new member fee.
Fantastic. So we need a motion. Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
So then after that, as you all who are here remember, we received a resignation in person, and we had afterwards received it in writing from Ashley Parker Dunstan. As you remember, she was going to be head of the Bar Association. I'm thinking it was in North Carolina, but that might not be correct. And she's working with the county on starting a new program, so her time is very limited. But she has resigned from the club and the board. John House has moved. We received a resignation from Rhonda Clark McNary. It's a personal resignation. Christopher Edmondson does not have time to come at all, so he has regretfully submitted his resignation. Robert Gomez submitted a resignation, a personal one. Jacob Lee did not have time. And I went ahead and had to remove Patrick Wallace and Van Webb. I have been in contact with Patrick, but I still have not received payment. And Van, I have not received any contact and no payment. Now, we can always add them back if they pay, but because our dues to Kiwanis International is based on that number at the end of the year, I just felt like I needed to go ahead and remove them. And like I said, we can add them back if they pay, but I haven't received anything. So we have no deceased. Well, I guess, do we need to accept?
And we need to probably have a discussion. Would anyone like to make a motion for the recommendation?
Motion to accept resignations with regrets.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No. Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you, Courtney. Now,
So deceased, none. Senior status change, none. And as verified by Rocky Strickland, our current updated membership stats are 186, 158 active, and 28 senior. That's as of, how I do it is I factor in everything up here, and that would be that, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Courtney. Any questions for Courtney before we proceed? Any additional questions?
Just wondering, what's the highest number?
I remember 256 at one point, but I think it's been higher than that years
I
ago.
think it was pushing 300.
Yeah.
Way back.
I just wondered, I didn't know.
Okay, thank you.
John Brantley with
Yeah, Rocky.
Rocky Mike.
John, will you share with us the treasurer's report tonight?
Sure. So this is the fiscal year-end report for September 30, 2022. For those of you that are new to the board, I will always provide a summary sheet to the financials. If you're not financial statement readers, you have a summary sheet. If you like financial statements, if you got a balance sheet, a couple of profit and losses, one will be the current month, the second one will be the year-to-date, and then we have a budget report. So these are fiscal year 2022 numbers. Total assets, which consist of all cash, $84,469.34. Total liabilities, which consist of a balance on a MasterCard account and then some cash that we hold on to for a couple of the service leadership programs. Total liabilities, $2,451.27 for net assets at September 30, 2022, $82,018.07. For the month of September, our operating revenues were $7,258.15. Our operating expenses were $4,391.83 for a net operating income of $2,866.32. Our service revenues, all revenues, of course, are coming from the pancake breakfast. We took in $6,247.94 for pancake breakfast, and we've had service expenses for the month of September of $18,760.90. Now, the bulk of that is the payout to the Raleigh Kiwanis Foundation. That amount, $15,410.56, represented our service surplus for the fiscal year. And as we do every year, we pay out that surplus to zero out that budget line item. So that was a check that went to the Kiwanis Foundation. So we have a big net service loss for the month of September, but you look at the year-to-date, it's a goose egg, it's zero. Year-to-date operating revenue, $81,936. Operating expenses, $91,338. And a net operating loss, as anticipated, of $9,402.42. The service budget, of course, service revenue is $28,857.94, and that was the same dollar amount for the expenses. So total net loss for the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh for the last fiscal year, $9,402.42. Before I go any further, any questions on the balance sheet or the profit and loss numbers? Okay. The dues outstanding, Courtney alluded to that a little bit just moments ago. We have two categories that we have balances owing. One is in the 60 to 89 day old dues outstanding. That amount is $2,005. We have another level of 90-plus days outstanding. That amounts to $1,191. For total dues outstanding, $3,196.
How many people represented in those two categories? In round
I knew somebody was going to ask
15,
that.
probably about 15. Can I just say something for the record?
Sure.
Last month, the
Yeah.
AR
Can't do it.
was 9,871.
So I was gonna say, just wanna thank Courtney, she has really worked that down. That was the biggest decrease we've had.
I know I got my letter in the mail.
With the red,
Sorry, your name.
with the red ink.
I wasn't that far behind. I was like maybe a month behind.
No judgment here.
The people that
So can I,
should not pay dues, are they in December?
I do have to say, Patrick Wallace and Van Webb are in those figures still. I have not removed them.
There are about 20 people on the list, of which 7 of them are in the 90-plus day category. But it's very fluid. I mean, that will change throughout the month. That list has been much larger, particularly right after a billing cycle, where you've got a lot of receivables in the, 0 to 30-day category.
If I may ask, how do we normally handle that?
Well,
you understand that?
yeah, so Courtney's been very good about keeping up with the list and making phone calls in the past, and even maybe more recently, we'll have to write letters. At some point, we just have to terminate membership, as we've done tonight. Because it costs us money to carry the pay the Kiwanis dues every year.
And,
I-
yeah. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
No,
And she may, if she's having trouble getting in touch with a certain individual, she may ask the board if they have contact or a way to reach them. And it's kind of our responsibility to support her in that.
And there are some that I just know the history, and I know sometimes they'll let their balance get up, and then they'll pay it. So there's some that I don't have a worry about, but then there's others. And you'll find out, I'm very nice and let people go on longer than I should at times, but I give them the opportunities.
Maybe way off in the weeds, I was seeing these in the past, I was in very distant. I think there's always more than 20 years.
Or they just get taken off,
yeah,
usually.
it would be unusual for us to let it go that far. I mean,
That's good.
we need to be a little bit better stewards of, the purse. If someone is dragging on that long, chances are they just don't want to be a member. Maybe they thought they were terminated anyway. They just didn't need to do anything. So, yeah.
Is the annual payment on a number once a year?
To KI, yes, it's played in the very beginning.
We'll talk about that as we talk about the budget, because that is coming up within the next month or so. So before we jump into the budget for this year, I want to just spend just a couple of minutes going over the prior year budget. There's another report in your packet that you get every month. It's the profit and loss budget to actual report. It's kind of meaningless in the early part of the year because I'm comparing to total fiscal year performance. You can't really get a sense of where you're at until we start getting closer to the end. And I may try to work on that where it makes more sense if we can somehow, have a budget for each month, but I'm not that good at projecting when the revenues come in. But if you'll look at the October 21 through September 22, that's just a recap of the profit and loss for the fiscal year. And the budget line item row right to the right of it is what we agreed to as a board last year for the budget. So you can kind of see where we landed. And, you know, some of the major line items I've highlighted on my sheet, we did pretty well. We projected about 83,000, 84,000 of dues. We were over 80,000, so that's, you know, we did pretty good. If you go down all the way to the bottom, we were projecting a loss when we met last year of $14,885. And we did have a loss. We intended to have a loss. We'll get more of that later. But the loss wasn't as bad. It was $9,402. And why did we anticipate a loss, and why did we not come away from that meeting with a zero balance budget, as I would typically express? We have had a pretty generous accumulation of cash in the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh that represents dues collected from the membership over the years that have not been spent towards the operating budget. On the service budget side, everything gets paid out. It funds our service projects, so every dollar of pancake breakfast revenue gets spent. But not always in the past has every dollar of dues collected from the membership gone to pay for things like meals and everything that you see in the operating budget side. And there was a period of time where that cash continued to accumulate. And as little as 2 years ago, we were about $110,000 of cash in it. Now, we need to keep on hand at least, I would say, 2 quarters worth of operating expenses. And that number is right about $50,000, so maybe just a little bit under that. It's right around $50,000. So when you see things that we do for the membership, like tonight, like the ball game, charter night, where there's either nothing to cough up as far as a fee or a nominal fee, that's been the club's way of giving back some of those excess funds. Now you will see with that in mind how that cash is coming down. And it's coming down significantly. Okay? So at the end of the year, keep in mind we had total assets of about $84,000. That was cash. That's about $20,000 less than it was a couple of years ago. So you see where things are headed. A lot of the costs are coming from meals. The meals increased when we came back after COVID, went up 50%. That was a huge hit. The club had not had a dues increase since I had been in 2004. It's been nearly 20 years since we had a dues increase. So on the horizon, as we move forward, those kinds of things we need to pay a little bit more attention to and see where we can save some money on some of these budget line items. We may have to contemplate dues increases in a combination of things. At some point, we've got to get back to that zero balance budget idea. So with that in mind, I'd like to move right into the budget for this fiscal year.
Can we go ahead and vote on the treasurer's
Sure.
report?
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion, ayes have it, thank you. Motion carries. Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah.
And you may have mentioned this, but KI is also increasing our dues are increasing to KI. So that's something we didn't, when we talked about this proposed budget, that was not in that discussion. I mean, knew that it was coming, but didn't know when. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So, you know, at this point in time in the year when we do the budget, we've got to just, it's a shot in the dark on some of these things. So I've got to project what the annual collection of dues is going to be. Of course, that's based on the membership numbers. And so when we see wild swings from month to month in membership numbers, we had, 7, 8 people resign or leave. That's kind of high. That doesn't usually happen a couple maybe, but that's a lot. And so, for purposes of the budget that you have in front of you, We have a grand total of 189 members. Now, based on Courtney's report, right now, we only have 186. So my first thought is, do I need to change that? I don't think I need to change that yet, because the number's so fluid, it moves around all the time. But I will tell you that there's been a trend of that number coming down, not going up. And unfortunately, we see that trend coming down, because it wasn't just earlier this year, we were pushing 200, now we're down to 186. So I have got 189 members in this budget, of which 162 are active members and 27 are senior. What does that mean? The quarterly dues for active members is $120 a quarter. Okay, that starts this fiscal year. For senior members, it's $35. Okay, on top of that, we have Kiwanis International dues, $64 a member for the dues. Kiwanis International also adds a liability insurance component to the dues. That number was 13. It went up to 18. That's what Stacy was just referring to. So now we have $18 per head for Kiwanis International dues. That's $82 per person. Okay. So think about that first quarterly dues installment, the 120 that you pay, 82 of it's going right to Kiwanis International almost immediately. Then we have district annual dues of $30, okay, annually. So total annual dues, it is $112 per member, right? For the meal cost, it's $15 a head. That's what the Meadows has agreed to charge us. They do expect some minimal number of members to be there to make it worth their while. They've been told to count on 70. I don't know that we're going to be at 70. It's going to fluctuate. We have to kind of figure out what's going to be the average for this fiscal year. So with that in mind, on your sheets, dues, first row, dues and meals, what's the projected revenues for fiscal year ending September 2023? On the far right, the column that says draft budget, you'll see the number $81,540. I know it's really tiny numbers.
I enlarged it for everybody.
Okay. The reason those numbers are so small, I've got several years to compare, and those are actual results, so it's kind of hard to read those numbers. 81,540 dues and meals, that's the 162 active members and the 27 senior members at the with an average meeting attendance of 70 people at $15 a head for 40 meetings. So we have 44 meetings during the year, 4 of which, am I right about that? 4 of which we won't serve a meal. So that would be charter night, this night,
So
It's charter night, it's the baseball.
baseball. There's 4
It's
events
Milburnie.
that take place of a meeting that we don't have the Meadows serve.
where's the vacation Bible school?
That doesn't count.
Baseball?
This does not count.
Okay, so that's the first line item, dues and meals. Charter night. We have to start pulling back, in my opinion, off the freebies. Because if we don't, we're going to be at that cash is going to be hovering right around that recommended surplus amount. We'll be really close, and once it gets there, it's going to be really hard on the decisions that we make. It's all going to depend on timing of cash, which we have not had to worry about for a while. So the proposal or the thought rather, has been to charge the members $35 to attend charter night. Each person to attend charter night. We figure we're going to have 100 folks attending charter night at $35 a pop. So we're counting on $3,500 of revenue from charter. Any questions about that?
What's the expense on the charter?
Charter night expense is going to be about $5,000. It was,
You mean in excess of the income?
no, total expense.
So,
It would still be subsidized, but not as much.
So we're losing money on charter night anyway, you know, even with charging $35 a head. We can talk with, I know there are going to be lots of questions that you're going to have about that, so let's not get stuck on that one. Let's put that one in, let's put that one in the middle parking lot and come back. Because there's going to be several of these that we want to come back and reset, okay? All right. Spring social, this is the baseball game. This is another one. You know, we're thinking about charging $15 a head. And we're thinking 110 people are going to attend spring social, okay? That's $1,650 of revenues from spring social.
Can I just say one thing? The ticket per person for that spring social is $38. And we have some people that will reserve tickets and not come, which then, because they've reserved a ticket, I have to, sometimes we go over a little bit, but that's just money kind of down the drain. They don't come.
The total cost for spring, for the baseball game last year was $3,245.25. Okay, we're asking to cover maybe half of that. Okay, with a nominal $15 charge. The only other income item that you've got for the operating side would be interest from the bank. It's $500. It's not very much. Service income, this is the big one. We only got one service project, the pancake breakfast. I've got $25,000 down for collections for the pancake breakfast. Now, because of the way our fiscal year works, a lot of that's going to come now, and some of it's going to come in August and September next year for next year's pancake breakfast, just the way our fiscal year works. Okay, last year we collected $28,857.94. A lot of that happened to be deposits that were made in October this time last year that were from checks written going back before then, but they just didn't get deposited until October. So it's just it's a timing issue. 25,000. I've talked to the pancake breakfast committee. They think that's a pretty good number. Ticket sales are down. Ticket sales are down. So of all the things that we're going to talk about tonight, the one thing that is going to work out no matter what is a service project, because if we don't, whatever we have or don't have, I mean, that's what we're limited on spending. Okay, for the service project. Any questions about the revenues?
You said the pancake breakfast is the only
It's the only,
service project we have?
excuse me, it's the only fundraiser we have for our service projects. That's what I meant to say.
Okay.
It's not our only service project.
Golf tournament thing?
The golf tournament is a foundation.
Okay.
That's a foundation thing. Let's move down to operating expenses. Some of these are just, you know, they don't change much from year to year. Administrative services, that's not going to change. That's $400 a month. We do have, quote, bank and credit card fees. I've got a zero there. The reason why, it's coming through from Stripe. You just, for folks that pay their dues by credit card, they go online with Stripe and there's a fee. And I've got it as a subcategory for website and portal down further. So charter night, I just mentioned, we're banking on $5,000. District conventions, I've got 30, is that right? I've got $3,500 for district convention. Didn't we talk about making that $2,000? Oh, I can't remember.
I'm not sure. I mean, if it works to keep it there, that's, I mean,
Okay.
I would, because.
It was close to 3,300 last year, so let's just keep it at 35. Everybody okay with that? Tonight, Milburnie, we'll know real quick what that is. But we've got $1,500 designated for it. Last year it was less than $1,200. Induction and installation, those are the aprons and pins that we purchased for the new membership. We've got that at $500. Insurance, there's nothing shown for insurance, but do understand it's included in the Kiwanis International dues. Interclub visits, I can't remember the last time we had an interclub, but we do have a little bit set aside for interclub visits, $100. Okay, big line item, international and district dues. That's $112 per member for the 189 members. $21,168. Of that amount, the liability insurance of $18 per person, we have been told can be moved and taken care of or considered as part of the service budget. So I am moving $3,402 of that total down to the service budget. We'll see that in a minute. International convention, we've got allocated 2 people going at $1,500 each. That's $3,000 total. Meals for board meetings, we stopped that. I can maybe just take that line item out. We don't serve meals at board meetings. Meals for club meetings, of course we do. This is the Meadows. We have 40 meetings. Average attendance 70 people at $15 a head. That comes out to $42,000. Now here's what I'm not sure what to make of. I mean, last year we budgeted about the same thing, $42,900, but we had less than $32,000 spent, so we were way under budget on that line item. I'm not suggesting we reduce it. I would love to see it cost $42,000. That means we have 70 people on average coming to our meetings. But if the trend is going down, you could see that actual cost be a lot less.
Is it direct? It's a direct reflection of how many people come to the meeting,
Correct.
right? So
That's correct.
Except we have a minimum that we're committed to, and Tarver, is the minimum committed to at lunch 60?
What's that now?
How many do we commit to?
70 right now.
Are we paying for 70 regardless?
No,
What is the minimum we have to have, the drop
60?
dead
we moved
minimum?
up 50 if you want to.
50.
I mean, okay.
According to I told them a couple weeks ago, we got 70 because worship got far away before we come.
So I guess my thought is if they don't come, we have to pay
Oh, yeah.
for
Correct, 50 at least.
50.
No. Right now we pay for 65. One of them comes at 70, come pay for 70.
Right, I get they come, but if they only have 60 come, how many do we have to, I mean, if we only have 50, how many do we have to pay?
50,
If we have 30 people come,
30.
Oh, so.
I think they have a minimum, I
They do
thought they had a
minimum.
minimum
It's
then.
in the contract.
All right.
Okay,
I'm guaranteed 70 right now.
yeah, okay, thanks.
I change, what do you want, I'll change it.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk.
Okay, so there may be some wiggle room in that line item. That's the biggest cost line item that we can work with right now. We have a line item for membership recruitment and retention. We only spent $81 on this last year. We've got $500 budgeted for this line item. There's several opportunities that we can tap into that budget line item for getting folks involved. Office and administrative, those are, stamps, whatever Courtney would need to mail out dues and process and things like that. There's usually not a whole lot in there. We had a large expense project for that this past fiscal year. You see that it was almost over $3,800 for office and administrative, but that's all the AV equipment that Q was so good at orchestrating and getting ready. We're not gonna have that. That was a one-time cost, so we're gonna fall back to what the normal is. So we've got $880 for that this year. Past president gift, they dropped that the year I became president. Actually, it was $500 last year. We had some catch up. It's $250 a year. Past president's luncheon, it's right at $1,000. Rent for club meetings. Our rent is, let's see, $560 a month. That's paid to Highlands United Methodist. There was some discussion last year at this time with the church that they were contemplating a increase in the rent. But Tom Lamb was successful in getting them to hold off. This year, when I reached out to Tom to say, give me an idea, I need a plan, they even pulled back even more. Their membership has declined. They understand ours is. They value the relationship they have with Kiwanis, and so they want to keep that rent steady. Having said that, that's a monthly rent that we pay, whether we meet or not. We pay that every month. But the good thing is it's staying steady at $560 a month. Spring social baseball game, $3,250. Storage, that's the easiest one on here. It's $114 a month, 12 months, so $1,400. Website portal, that's broken down into two parts. $1,500 covers SurveyMonkey, Zoom, Portal Buzz. We have a website security fee, and then there's a little bit in there for website design fees. That's $1,500. And then there's another part, the Stripe processing fee. So if you pay your dues with online with Stripe using your credit card, there's a fee that comes out. That comes off of the membership amount, dues amount. That totals, we're projecting $1,375.
Is that PayPal too, or PayPal comes out of the pancake breakfast? Right?
PayPal comes out of pancake breakfast. Okay, so we have total operating expenses of $95,000, just over $95,000. If you scroll back up to the operating income, we only had $87,000 of operating income. Okay, so we're right off the bat, we're looking at an $8,000 roughly loss just on the operating budget. Now, depending on what happens with the meals, as you see from last year, we were 11,000 under what we budgeted. That'll put a surplus back. It really just depends on how the membership, retaining membership and having members actually not go to eat.
Or if we have an event like weather and we don't meet.
Right.
So that's that. Any questions so far?
So one of the things we talked about, the budget, the executive committee, was that possibly not meeting Labor Day weekend and Memorial Day weekend are due. Is that part of this or not part of this? I'm a little confused.
So,
because I thought the 44 already took charter night and.
think you're right, Sandra. I think in the past, we have had 44 meetings at the church, and we talked about, as an executive committee, cutting 4 meetings.
Yeah. To reduce some of the meeting expense.
Right. Now, and there's a couple at least that we have very low turnout with, and we talked about those. And we can talk about those now if you want. I think one of them was,
Labor Day and Memorial
it was
Day.
Labor Day and Memorial
So
Day.
we talked about,
Those are 2.
because we don't meet Easter weekend. We don't meet Fourth of July. And we don't meet Christmas and New Year's
And Thanksgiving.
and Thanksgiving.
And it's likely, not certain, but likely you're gonna have a Friday during the winter. That Wayne County's gonna have to close schools because of weather.
We don't have a
You
hurricane.
know, you can have that.
What if we, on those 2, we still have a meeting, but we give them a lesser number? You know, we give the caterer a reduced number in anticipating that it's not as many.
As Tarver said, if you have if you have fewer members to attend, they're gonna invoice you for that number. Now, unless at that point in time, they're gonna be billing a minimum.
But if they're cooking for 70 and only 50 come, they're not gonna charge us for 50, they're gonna still charge us for 70.
That's
We have to
that's not what you just said.
we have to let them know ahead of time if we're gonna have less or more.
It just has to be worth their time to drive off because of the gas.
Right,
Well, one of the things we can have the House Committee do over the next few months is monitor really close how many members are coming, so we can adjust our budget as necessary.
yeah.
But I have a hard time, personally, my feeling is with the trend, we haven't had 70 on average. We've had more than 70 come, but on average, I don't think we're quite there.
We're less than that.
So what would were you concerned about not having
Well,
meetings on
I just think that when the members pay their dues, that there's certain, we have a certain number of meetings for that. And I don't care one way or the other, but I just thought I was throwing that out as a possibility to still be able to meet, so those that do want to come and, have that fellowship time too, can come, but we won't be, we would give them a lower, number.
Are those really low attendance, those 2 days we're talking about before Labor Day, before they pretty low attendance?
I can go back and look at those exact figures.
Well, whether it's 40,
So many people want to take a long weekend.
Yeah,
whether it's 40 or 44, if I were to change that to 44, that 42,000 changes to 46,200, the cost, okay? So it's a $4,200 swing by adding 4 more days. So, but again, if I look at last year, we didn't even
Yeah.
spend 32,000.
yeah.
So whether we decide 40 or 44, I think the number we got, 42,000 budget, is probably a good
Okay,
go. So I don't want to get too tied up on trying to figure out what the number of meetings is going to be.
Hi, Landon.
All right, so we're done with operating. Any other questions about operating? Let's talk about service expenses. All right, there's the first line item. There may be a little duplication here. So we have the Adopt a School at Poe Elementary. Poe Elementary we've adopted that school, and there's been some discussion in the past about having a K-Kids club set up at Poe Elementary. There is a K-Kids club line item a little bit further below. Okay, so, and there's budgeted amounts to each. So there may be some duplication here. So I've got $1,000 allocated to Poe Elementary for Adopt a School / K-Kids, and I've got a $1,500 amount allocated to just the K-Kids club line item below. So I'd like to understand this. I wasn't sure if we, are we duplicating cost or not?
I was thinking the Adopt a School money was going to buy, like if we do lunch for the teachers
Okay.
or,
Okay,
that kind of thing.
Right.
okay. So it's not really K-Kids, it's just, it's something completely
K-Kids
different.
would be their charter cost, and like if we did anything related to that, like Terrific Kids or, to buy bumper
Okay,
stickers.
all right. So on the budget, on the finalized budget that you'll get back from me, it'll just say Adopt a School and in parentheses Poe Elementary. I don't even have to put Poe Elementary in parentheses, but I think Poe is the school that we've adopted. So
What was the program that Frank was proposing? We give the $6,000 for music and arts or something. We only gave him $3,000. We said we'll let the rest be coming for this year if they need it.
So
What was that?
That
That was-
came from the dictionary project, which is money that we had for that service project that no longer exists, so we gave it out to the different schools. That's a different line item.
That
We
was a
also
special event they had.
We talked about potentially funding the, in this fiscal year. Do you know what I'm saying?
Whether we did or not, we had talked about that night about just leaving some budget for that.
Yeah.
He wanted 6, we gave him 3. We said put some budget in for next year if we need that.
So hold on to that thought. We've got a line item that may absorb some of those needs as they arise.
Okay.
Okay. Right, so 1,000 for Adopt a School. I've got 700 for Action Club. We haven't spent 700 on the Action Club in a long time. I'd love to see us spend that money on Action Club.
So they normally go to the convention and didn't this year.
Okay. But even in years past, I mean, you can scroll, I'm looking at it. Last time we were at 700 was fiscal year ending September 19.
Well, I guess it's
It's
COVID.
the last time they had a convention.
It's COVID.
This was the first time they had it since.
There you go. That makes sense. Boys and Girls Club, I've got 200. Builders Club, I've got 180. Circle K Meredith was on here, but Meredith no longer has an active SLP, so there's no money allocated to that.
Oh my gosh, where's our girl from last week? You set that back up.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on her name. Yeah, the President Meredith. She was just
Couple of
here.
weeks ago.
Jill Allen.
We gotta write her an email and let her know what we need.
Oh, true, the president, that's right. Circle K NC State, we've got 1,000. Dictionary project, this depends on who you ask, but this one's not being funded. Right now, I mean, the proposal is that we don't fund dictionary project.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there another line item for service project?
So, before we go any further, we have a quote, miscellaneous service project line item. Because last year, we had these emotional pleas come to the board for funding certain things, and our hearts were all in it, and they were wonderful things. Wonderful things that weren't at this table this time last year, which is important. We really need to, when we do this budget, we need to stick to it. So I've got $2,000 allocated just miscellaneous stuff. Anything that comes up, we can miscellaneous service projects. Got to be a service project. So down the road, dictionary project, if we have 0 budgeted for it and we want to participate and say 1,000 up to 2,000, we can possibly pull it from that line. But as of right now, there's no money being allocated in this presentation to the dictionary project. Instead, that money is being used for Adopt a School, and last year for the foster care support program that we participated in.
Can you just say another sentence or two as to the dictionary project? Is that kind of over?
May I?
Yeah,
Would you like
go
to do
ahead.
that? So when we called the 32 different schools that used to participate in the dictionary project, and no one wanted the dictionaries because they have tablets and the children.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't the best use of our money.
Right.
And we really want to be more intentional about how we use that money in the community so that it reflects Kiwanis, our club. And so we really want to think through that going forward.
Can I-
kept sort of hearing that we could go back to it if we wanted to. It doesn't seem to me that we do. Because we've been doing certain stuff on it.
We did have 2 schools that came in a month after we made those calls and asked for it. One missed the deadline, one was reported in, but the dictionary folks that ordered the dictionaries were not responsive to us. So what we are realizing, that's when we made the decision not to continue down that path.
However, I've got 3 boxes of dictionaries sitting in my living room right now because I fulfilled our club's obligation from last year that we would provide dictionaries to Swift Creek. So I need somebody to volunteer to take those over or whatever. But we had stickers to go on them that said Kiwanis. So what I might do is just make up some for our club, not Kiwanis International. So
And
we've
that
got
was the one
those.
school that responded.
Bring them in one Friday. I'll help you stick them on.
Okay. I need somebody to deliver them to.
So that's in Cary, right? Swift Creek's in Cary. So,
Throw them on the doorstep.
Okay.
See?
Yeah.
Make an announcement.
Yeah.
you know what, yes.
Okay, district foundation, we typically give some money to our district foundation, and Kiwanis International, Kiwanis Children's Fund, every year. And so, last year, we gave $950 to the district foundation. This year, we've got $750 budgeted. And then for the Kiwanis Children's Fund, we have $500 budgeted. They want more, but we typically give more to our own foundation. K-Kids Club, $1,500 allocated to that. We don't have a K-Kids Club right now. And so we're hoping that maybe we can get one put in at home. Key Club activities, $600 allocated to that. Key Club scholarships, we have 6 Key Clubs. We allocate $1,000 per club. That's $6,000 allocated for Key Club scholarships. Last year, we had $5,000 allocated to Key Club scholarships. We only spent 2. We only had 2 applications for scholarships. This is free money.
Yeah, we couldn't get anybody in for
And,
mine.
just couldn't get them in. So,
No, Athens.
Well, we got one. We got one. Yeah.
all right, KI liability insurance, that's the amount that was pulled down from above, $3,402. Miscellaneous service projects, that's the new one, $2,000 allocated to that. The one day project, which is coming up soon, I think we've got $500 allocated to that. Pancake breakfast expenses, $3,000. We have $3,000 allocated to pancake breakfast expenses. Read and feed books, we have $500 allocated to that. Last but not least, the Raleigh Kiwanis Foundation. The number you see on your budget is a plug. It is a plug to make the service budget 0. So right now that number is $3,168. We just cut a check of over $15,000 to the foundation, representing surplus in our service budget that was not spent on things like scholarships, on Key Club activities or K-Kids clubs. you know, a lot of good things that we didn't spend the money on went to the foundation. And it will be spent wisely with the foundation. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we've got a lot of good work that's not, you know, being done.
I have some questions. So what are these budget items for Circle K's up at NCSU and stuff? I don't really know what that's for.
I'll have to look back.
Something we pay, if they ask, which they haven't recently, we help them pay for the leaders to go to the Circle K convention, and then for Key Club,
Decom.
yeah, help them do district conventions.
The Circle K at NCSU, if that's ours, it's a big club. We gotta tap those people. They should come and join us when they graduate, because a lot of them stay around Raleigh.
The one 15 members a couple of years ago, maybe 7 of them showing up, and it started going back up after COVID.
Yes, we had some of those guys come into our club and talk to them, and I saw their Instagram page and looked at it, and they were really active. There's a lot of them.
They are doing that.
Can I request that another line item be added to the service budget, please? This partnership reading that we're trying to get started, that happens to be with Code. I don't know if Code's going to work out because we cannot get response from them. However, there is a program called Partners Read that supports schools, a bunch of schools within Wake County. So the opportunity is still there for this project. But part of doing that is that we help fund some of the books that are given to these children to take home to encourage reading at home. So I would like for us to put a line item for the Partners Read program, which is the one that Clay and Frank and John Brantley and Bob Goodell are trying to get started, because there's nothing in there for that. And I figured out at $3 per book, I don't know how many children would, let's just say 50, 3 times a year to give them one. The beginning of the year, Christmas, and the end of the year. So, I don't know, $800 should cover it plenty. Let's give them 1,000. I don't know. How much is that?
What are you proposing?
Yes, I'm
You're making a
proposing
proposal,
that we
right?
add,
Who's
that we
gonna
add that
get
line
charged?
item.
Who is in charge?
Well, it's supposed to be Bob and Clay. Bob Goodell is supposed to be in charge of that. Although I have kind of taken on some of that responsibility.
So, you said that you would part of
So it is a program that will be hosted at Pell Elementary, that Kiwanis will go in and read with the children.
Yes.
But it will be, this money will be to give each of those children in the program a book 3 times a year. It's in addition to what we have.
Right, and what I'm saying is it doesn't have to be code. It could, there's this Partners Read program they have readers going in all schools all over the county. So, but we should have a line item to help fund books for that particular program. And it's not in there.
So add a $800 line item for that for this year to spend on books.
I think that would be very generous.
That's a line item.
I would like to make a motion that we add a line item for the Partners Read program in the amount of $800.
I'll second that.
Okay, second. All those, any discussion on that prior to doing that?
And we just talked about some of these programs, we don't know if all this money's going to be spent. We may have some surplus in it already. Wouldn't that pick that up during the year?
So the question is, do you want to do it that way, or do you want to have line items?
Well, so here's the question. If I plug in another $800, where are you going to pull it from? Are you going to pull it from what would have otherwise gone to the foundation, or are you gonna pull it from a
Yes.
miscellaneous service?
Pull it from what
Pull it
would
from-
otherwise go for the booth to the foundation.
Is that,
So that's the
what you
motion.
guys would want?
Any other discussion, Bob? It would just reduce what the check is given to the foundation.
And that's not necessarily the actual number. They're probably still gonna get a check. It's just a matter of.
Yes,
Oh,
what
they're
budget.
they will
definitely
get the
gonna get a check.
Yeah,
surplus.
so.
Yeah.
Still good with that, my second.
Oh, yeah, we still agree. Bart, does that help you?
Yeah, that's that plug-in number anyway, you're taking.
Okay,
Any other discussion? Stuart, I'm sorry, I can't see you down there. Do you have any other discussion?
No.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those, got it. Travis, are you there too? Yep. All those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
let's try to move to wrap up. So that did not change the projected operating deficit to just move money from one bucket to another. We have a projected operating deficit of $7,851. Of course, the service budget is going to be zero. All right?
I'd like to ask a dumb question because I just really don't know the answer, and I guess I'm learning all this as we go, right? So if we had a deficit of 94, why don't we just write less of a check to the foundation?
So the check to the foundation is, it is based on whether or not you have a surplus in your service budget. We have two budgets. We have an operating budget and we have a service budget. We can show a net loss total, but that doesn't mean the service budget doesn't carry a surplus in it. So if we have any surplus funds in our service budget, we pay that out to a 501c3, some charitable organization, usually it's a foundation.
That's what it is. So it's the difference
Okay.
between service and operating.
Right, so the operating budget, that was just excess operating expenses over the dues that we collected from the membership. It has nothing to do with the pancake breakfast revenues collected and all the service leadership projects.
Thank you for clearing that up.
And incidentally, I can move money from operating to service, but I cannot move money from service to operating. One-way street. So if we were running low on service budget money and we wanted to fund something, I could pull it from the operating budget. All right, so we have a projected loss of $7,851. I'm not real happy about that. I'd like to see it zero. I want to see a zero, a balanced budget. Having said that, and that's the whole reason I made that spiel earlier about having these large cash reserves and the idea of kind of spending that down. But we need to start pulling the brakes now, because if we keep doing what we've been doing in the last 2 years, we're going to have a problem. And so we want to have a soft landing.
John,
Yeah.
am I incorrect, or isn't the reason that we're going through these deficits is because we decided not to raise our dues all at once? And so the idea is that through time, as the dues go up, that should put us in a situation where we could be much closer to a balanced budget.
That was the thought at the time that we were discussing the dues increase. But some things have already been developing that we just didn't know about. For example, we know firsthand that next year at International Convention, there's most likely going to be a proposal on the floor to raise Kiwanis International dues.
Gotcha.
And those kinds of things weren't planned for when we decided to raise our dues from, $115 to $135 a quarter over 5 years, $5 a year, whatever it was. So we're gonna have things like that pop up, and we're gonna have to be very flexible and come back to the table on these dues increases. But yes, that was the idea. So we have a little over $84,000 in cash on hand right now. The projected cash, if this budget works out and we actually have a deficit of $7,851, we'll have a little, almost $79,000 in cash on hand. Okay. Our projected operating expenses for the entire year are a little over $95,000 per quarter. That's a little under $24,000. So that puts us right around $48,000 of where we need to be mindful of. That's where the cash really can't get below. So we've got cushion. We're fine. We're fine right now. But it just takes a couple of little things. Kiwanis International, meals increase of 50%. It blows the budget out of water. So just, we need to be mindful of that.
Do you have a recommendation?
Well, honestly, if I could go back in time to when we were discussing the dues increases, I think I probably would be a little more aggressive on that first installment. Maybe not over a 5-year window, maybe a 3. I think we should have probably gone a little more aggressive on that first. Nobody wants to raise their dues, you know. But to go from 115 to 120 when we hadn't had a dues increase since I don't know the last time. It's been 20, 25 years. You know, I would have probably gone a little more aggressive. We thought at the time we needed to be about 135 a quarter. I could make the argument we should have just gone.
But in terms of now,
well, it's something to just keep on moving on. I'm not suggesting we do a dues increase right now.
do we have a few, any sort of numbers or anything that what impact have they on new members? I mean, we need, say, 20 new members and then do
Well, here's the truth. As a member, if you come to every meeting, we're losing money.
Yeah, that's right.
We're losing money on you.
Well, losing money on you, buddy.
Hey, look, I'll stop. Do the math. 44 meetings at $15. Wow. Okay. Figure out what the quarterly amount is and compare it to what you're paying to do. On top of that, the dues that you pay, a good chunk of it, almost that first installment goes right to Kiwanis International. It doesn't even help us cover our operating costs.
So can I just say, a person coming to 4 meetings that have meals in 1 quarter is $180 in meal costs alone. And our dues are only $120. So we're already losing money. And that has nothing to do with the rent for the facility and all the other expenses.
So to your point, that is a number one discussion piece for the board retreat. Because I think you're right on target. We're going to have to do that.
The company corporate members, if they're sending a different person every week, their attendance will be higher than.
That's right.
That's right.
The average.
So we may want to think about a corporate membership having a higher dues.
Well, technically, if a corporate membership sends more than 1 person in a week, they will be charged 15 for that person, other person.
But when you have.
He just means there's someone coming every single
Oh,
week.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
3 people
Yeah,
to choose from, they can come.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Well, that's true, but I mean, right now, we're not even averaging 70 attendees. We've got 158 in full member meetings. So I don't think it's something to worry about too much right now.
Right. Are we at a place that we want to approve a budget?
Yeah,
So we need-
we're not gonna nail this, but we just need to be kind of in the ballpark and understand, how everything works. If we need to come back and tweak this in the next, at the board retreat, that's fine. What we don't want to do is keep coming back every month and going, yeah, we're not gonna change it. We're gonna agree on it, and that's what it's gonna be, and we need to stick to it as much as we can.
Okay,
But yeah, I think we're good.
do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the proposed budget.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that one too.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Got it. Okay, the ayes carry it. Thank you very much. Now we'll move, so thank you. This is a heavy budget meeting, so I appreciate your patience. I am aware of time, so we will move through to the website changes. Sandra, do you want to take that one?
I'm not sure what you're looking for.
Well, we can table that for the next time, because we had mentioned about maybe moving it to something else, so we can
Okay.
table that
Okay, we'll
for
talk about
another discussion.
That's fine. So we will table that.
Who manages the website right now?
Josh Perkins.
So he actually does the website, and we pay it.
No,
We don't pay him.
he's not being paid. He's a member. He's responsible for the committee. We have a developer that we have available to us.
I remember that coming through when you get like, I don't know, maybe like once a month you can do updates on the site or something that's kind of included in that base fee.
Well, we just have a retainer for a certain number of hours, and she works until those hours are done.
Got it.
She sends us another emails.
Okay.
Yep, so Sandra, if I can get you, Courtney, you and myself and anybody else that wants to be involved to have a meeting before the next meeting so we can kind of talk about it before. Okay, sure, fantastic. All right, committee updates, pancake breakfast. Does anyone here have an update on the pancake breakfast? It's tomorrow?
It's Saturday.
I mean, it's Saturday, that's right.
Day after tomorrow.
Yeah,
Get your t-shirts tomorrow.
and get your raffle tickets tonight. I did skip over new business. We do have the board retreat November 11th. John's been so gracious as to open his office for us to use that. It will begin at 2 p.m.
November 4th.
November the 4th, it's a Friday.
You said the 11th.
Yeah.
Oh,
so-
I'm sorry, November the 4th.
It's the
Yeah.
4th. I can't make that.
November the 4th at 2 p.m.
The next meeting, we're not.
At 2.
No, sorry, and then we'll move right into the SLP rally update.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that we had 2 schools out of our SLPs attend the rally, and I still haven't heard back from Jody from Wake Early, but we handled, thanks to Frank Manson, we handled all the checks. They wrote the checks to us, and then we wrote a check to district, and it went pretty smoothly. So, yeah.
Okay, and an update on Poe reading program.
I don't have an update yet. Like I mentioned, alluded to, we're having trouble getting response from the assistant principal. And so I emailed her and copied the principal on it, but I think we may need to have a discussion regarding if that's the school that we're gonna do this project with. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, so we probably need to, we need to work in meeting with Elle and you, and we'll have a meeting prior to the next meeting, okay?
Like, are they just busy? We just need to go like knock on the office door.
Does anybody else want to be part of that meeting? Okay. The next board meeting is, the next board meeting is November the 10th.
So
We need to change that.
can we change that
Sure.
to the day before?
So that is a Wednesday.
Because somebody has the anniversary now. Just kidding.
Just because why? You have it.
Um,
Actually, the anniversary's on the Friday, but
Well, there you go.
we're leaving.
So can everybody look at your calendars and mark it for November the 9th? That is a Wednesday.
At your office,
At your
John?
office.
If you move it, I will be glad.
May I
next
ask
board
another
meeting?
question? Can we not tap it in with the retreat and do it all on that form?
Oh,
Yeah.
Does it, hey, Randy, what do you and Travis think about that? Instead of having another meeting, we do everything at the board retreat. You think that's a bad idea?
Good, yeah,
Good.
good
Travis?
idea.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I got a parent-teacher conference, but I'll be there as soon as that's over.
It's only, yeah,
Yeah, so does that need a,
2 weeks.
does that need a motion? Right, okay.
So
No.
Friday the 4th is.
So Friday, the 4th at 2 is the retreat, and we'll have the board meeting as a part of that retreat. And we'll go over all the things with the budget and how it works, so it helps, because I think for new members, it probably is helpful to understand the service budget versus the.
That's the concept. I just gotta remember every time I listen to that. It makes sense, so.
Is there any other business? I do want you to think about things to talk about the retreat, ways that we can grow our membership, retain our membership. Some of you have already started working on those things, and I appreciate that. We also be looking at website to make sure we have our information available to everyone. There are a lot of activities coming up in the next 3 months. We have 5 opportunities to volunteer for those that are interested. We'll share that at the meeting tomorrow. Any feedback you have, let us know. Thank you for, oh.
I do have one question. I don't know if y'all have noticed, I've changed the email program.
Oh yeah, constant contact. That's good.
Does everybody able to open them?
Today was awesome with the programs.
Right.
And one for the pancake breakfast
Okay.
tickets.
Okay.
I got like 10 credit card payments within 2 days after you sent that.
Very good.
Perfect, good. Well, we pay for a year's, the lowest amount, but it's so much easier for me to do it, and I just think it allows us to really do eye-catching emails for members. So the emails that you used to get for like the Friday meetings and stuff that were kind of generic, just an email, that was through Portal Buzz, which is something that KI had. And so I now have switched to this one where I can put pictures and colorful.
It makes it a lot easier to send
All
that link
that.
to people outside of the club.
Yes, and I can see who has opened and who hasn't. So I can go back and say, oh, I see somebody's not opening them. Are they even getting them? Whereas before I had no clue. It's like, oh, that's good.
From you or.
Looks good.
Okay, any other items before we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I don't think we ever moved
So moved. Okay, well then let's adjourn. Okay, thank you, Travis, thank you, Randy. And
Sure.
Thank y'all.
thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.